to both of you, back to the Zoom room for another Lots of Letting Go live session. And let's have a look at today's quote, a bit of teaching around that. That'll lead us nicely into a breathwork session. So adjust my camera. Yeah, so I'm just going to share my screen with you. Let me know when you've that one. There we go. Okay, so Karen, how about if you can read that headline quote for us from Eckhart Tolle?
Sure. Your artistic creation, sports, dance, teaching, counseling. Mastery in any field of endeavor implies that the thinking mind is either no longer involved at all, or at least is taking second place. A power and intelligence greater than you, and yet one with you in essence, takes over. There is no decision-making process anymore. Spontaneous right action happens, and you are not doing it. Mastery of life is the opposite of control. You become aligned with the greater consciousness. It acts, speaks, does the work.
Does the works. Yeah. So this is this quote is probably the best description of what we call the flow state, or being in the zone, they call it in sport, that I've come across. It described to a T an experience I had when I was on squash court. I might have mentioned it in our masterclass, I can't remember. Where I just completely let go. There was no self-playing. I wasn't in control anymore. It just happened. I was playing, but it was happening to me and through me. So Eckhart Tolle just captures, that feeling that I had beautifully here. It just takes over. There's no decision-making process anymore. Spontaneous right action just happens, and you, the separate self, trying to control the outcome, are not doing it. It was like I was just witnessing myself, this body doing its thing flawlessly. It was amazing. I was like, I wasn't really it. It was a strange and yet a very a lovely experience. The opposite of it was the opposite of control. All the control had gone, and it was just happening to me and through me. And it, this idea of a greater consciousness that acts, speaks, and does the works was, I experienced that. It was like a profoundly spiritual experience, actually. And it liberated me from fear in a way that nothing ever had before. I really felt light and free, and I never went back into that same fear of losing, because I kind of broken through to a different level. So these these principles are when he says this is matches my experience, and not just my experience. Many others have reported similar experiences that this is exactly how it feels. So he's kind of captured it very well in one paragraph there. So how do you orchestrate that? I guess, that's the question. Can you do things that help you to get into and to stay in flow? I think, the start of my experience of this was again, I was a professional squash player. Was in the domain of actually training and exercising. So like most people, I learned to do it conventionally. It was breathing through my mouth. I get it's tired. I remember, sometimes feeling just like you want to stop because you're so short of breath that your body's in anaerobic mode, and it's extremely stressful for your system. And I remember, many of those occasions. And so it wasn't, and then you're trying to hold it all together and play. It's quite a technical game, squash, and the strategy is important in your technique. You're trying to hold it together while your body's under this, intense intense anaerobic state. I found it extremely difficult. You actually just want to stop and rest, but somehow you've got to carry on. It was honestly excruciating sometimes. It's like, really, really hard. And then I read a book called Body, Mind, and Sport by a guy called John Douillard, and he'd looked at Ayurvedic system and adapted it to his purposes. So it was diet, but it was also breathing while exercising, and what he said made a lot of sense. Like, okay, you actually are not going to stress your body. The whole point is to make exercise enjoyable, to make it flow, and you do that by controlling your breath. And so I was like, wow, what he's promising is amazing. Stress-free exercise, and it's just enjoyable and it's flow, and that you can perform still at a high level. So I took on the challenge, and I taught myself to breathe through my nose, and then gradually kind of upgraded the intensity. So ultimately I could do what I previously did, but now I was breathing through my nose instead of my mouth. And it made a massive difference. Like to say, it was like the difference was huge in my experience. So before I'd get very tired and fatigued, and you kind of just push through. It's, no pain, no gain. Just push through, and injuries would happen. And, it was all really not a particularly flowing experience. When I learned to do this, and I changed my diet as well, simultaneously. I remember, one occasion where I'd played a match, maybe 45 minutes, but I really felt like I hadn't worked at all. I was still extremely strong. So I went next door and I just did what's called ghosting, which is running without the ball. You just do the movements without the ball. Now, normally a minute on and then 30 seconds rest, and you do 10 of those. That's decent workout. Well, I did half an hour straight, and I wasn't tired. And I was like, okay, this is another level. I've hit something else. And this was the zone, this was the flow. State of effortless flow where, there wasn't any sense of strain or effort. And it just happened. And it was orchestrated by this primarily by the breathing. And I think that the change of diet also helped. Combination was like, wow, I'm on, another level here. So what I'm going to teach you is this technique. It's called the Ujayi breathing technique. It's a yogic technique. So if you've done yoga, you might have come across it. But you adapt it to breathing while you exercise. And what it does, briefly, is it helps you use your full lung capacity, fully oxygenates your body, activates what we call a parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response. And all of that allows you to enter into a flow, or as they call it in many sports, a zone state. You enter the zone. When you're in the zone, exercise is enjoyable. Whatever you're doing is very enjoyable in that state. There's no sense of effort. You're not stressing. So you don't get tired, improves your endurance, and it boosts your performance significantly. The athletes now, they understand how powerful the zone is, and so there's the training, the diet, the whole regime is designed to try and get them into the zone as as much as possible. Because when you're in that state, then you perform at another level, and much more likely you'll get the positive results. The interesting thing about the flow of the zone is it's not really about the results. When you're in that state, it's just purely a present moment experience. You're not concerned about the result. When I was, in my zone state on the squash court, I wasn't actually concerned about the result. I wasn't thinking about the result and what anyone thought of me. I was just immersed in the process, and then the result took care of itself. I did win the match comfortably because I was playing at a completely different level. And interesting, I'd lost to the guy before, only a couple of months before. So it was a demonstration of just how powerful getting into the zone is, and encouraged me to continue on that same track of exploring it and learning. It wasn't so much about how much training I could do. What this teaching taught me, it wasn't the quantity. Okay, you're just going to train and train and train. It's actually about getting into the right state of mind, because that's when you perform well. And your training should just facilitate that. And sometimes less is more. I learned that the hard way. So doing more didn't necessarily improve my performance. In fact, it dampened it because I was tired, I was stale. I played better when I was actually fresher and not as I wasn't training as hard. Because this Ujayi breathing means that now your fitness is based on the efficiency of your breathing rather than on this. Okay, you have to continuously stress the body and then recover. So it's a different basis. Everything's different. It's completely transformed my experience, my perception of my experience of the sport I'd played up to that point for about 20 years. It was quite phenomenal. Transformation happened. And I guess that, prepared me for spiritual transformation, because if it can happen in that instance of life, in that area of life, then it can happen elsewhere. So I'm gonna show you this because it's a very powerful breathing technique that you can use if whenever you're exercising. So if you're walking, running, jogging, doing yoga, even an intense exercise, you can practice this. So your exercise then becomes a moving meditation. That's the point. It's to actually get into a very flowing state, and it becomes a meditative experience rather than something that's difficult and stressful. And if that's the case, then you will love exercise. Because it's a moving meditation. It's very pleasant, and you'll do it. Much more than you would have otherwise. And so then you get the health benefits of that. If you don't like exercise, you hate it, willpower can go a little bit of the way. Maybe you stick with a program for a week or two, maybe even a month. But if you really don't like it, then it's likely that you'll drop out, and you won't continue it. That makes sense. So this is very much in alignment. These breathing techniques are very much in alignment with the philosophy of flow, and to help you put you into a state of flow consistently, wherever you are, whether you exercising or just walking or just sitting, whatever the activity is. This can help you be in a flow state when you're in it. Okay, so let's have a look at the Ujayi breathing technique, which is just a variation of the diaphragmatic breathing that I've showed you earlier, which is just a deep slow. So just to recap, you're going to breathe in through your nose, so sitting comfortably. Let's in fact I'll record this. Just do it as a little meditation. So making yourselves comfortable, sitting your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight. Cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. Start off by taking a nice breath in through the nose. Hold it briefly. Find a sense of stillness and peace. And you're going to exhale. So out through your nose, but I want you to make a kind of a sighing sound at the back of your throat. So it's like a out through your nose, but you contract the throat. It's as though you fogging sunglasses. That's a good way of thinking of it. But you keep your mouth closed. And so it makes a kind of a sighing sound. And then just breathe in again. You can do 10 deep breaths like this. Breathing into the lower stomach, pushing the stomach out. The upper chest, pause at the top of the inhale. Scan your mind, so noticing any thoughts, emotions, body sensations going on. And if there's anything that doesn't serve you, just let it go. And exhale out through your nose. Make the sighing sound in the back of your throat. Spell us from your mouth, but just keep flowing with the breath. So do 10 Ujayi breaths like this. Breathing in. And out. Even out through the nose. And just make a exhaling and trying to just sink deeper, make the noise as you exhale. Just in your own time, observe the breath. And just keep breathing nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths, and make sure you make the Ujayi sound at the back of the throat. So it's like that, but you keep your mouth closed. Sounds a bit like the character Darth Vader in Star Wars, if you know that kind of sound. So just allow that sound to happen as you're breathing. You're getting more and more relaxed with each breath, just making sure you make that contraction in your throat. So you're fogging sunglasses on the exhale. You'll notice your stomach sucks slightly back in. Breathing in and out through your nose. Just focus all your attention on the breath. Using the Ujayi breath and the exhale, making a sighing sound. Use that sighing sound to relax you. The more you listen to it, it's a bit like waves in the ocean. Just relax. And So just spend a couple more minutes just breathing, nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths in your own time. And what you'll find is that you feel more and more relaxed to these practices. Not only are they about performance, but they're about relaxation. So isn't that double benefit? And just breathing. So just keep observing the breath, doing the Ujayi breath, contracting the throat. And sink inwards with each breath, sinking. And just keep breathing in this rhythmical pattern. Make the Ujayi sound. Let that relax you. And just drift into this deep state of relaxation. There's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, just breathe. With your Ujayi breath, make the sighing sound in the back of your throat as you exhale. If any thoughts come up, seem to disturb your peace in any way, breathe into them, observe them, remind yourself that none of these are real. Just focus on the breath. So any negative thoughts, emotions, body sensations, just notice them, breathe into them, bring in the light, which is your true awareness. So just let go of any darkness, any negative thoughts, emotions, related body sensations. Blow it out. Imagine you blowing out any of these negative thoughts and feelings. Letting them go with the breeze of your breath, and going, going. And you find a sense of peace, tranquility, freedom. This can be used in action and sport and so on. Exercise, actually, it's also a powerful breathing technique for meditation because it makes a sighing sound. So just gently coming out now. You're just going to bring awareness back into the body and the breath. Senses in the world. And on the count of three, open your eyes. So one, just breathing in. You pause at the top of the inhale, scan your mind. Notice thoughts, emotions, related body sensations going on, particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way. And just blow it all out. Imagine it's leaving you like a dark cloud of black smoke out of your mouth. It's going, gone. Lower the stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. Just rest here. For a few moments, feel the weight of your body. Pressing down into the chair and your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you're feeling and touching. And just noticing what you're feeling and touching, tasting, smelling. Notice what you're hearing. It's very still, calm, and serene state. Just noticing all these things with a sense of detachment. So you can just keep breathing on this connected, grounded way. So just notice the state. It's very peaceful, you're connected, and set the intention to stay here in this peaceful, connected state. As you practice this in action, practice this breathing technique as a way of so just count to two, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair and your feet touching the ground, noticing what you're feeling and touching. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell in your nose. Notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things from this very still, calm, and surrendered state of mind without illusions, which only the truth is true, and you can anchor the state in not just to the rest of the session, but into your life. And so now on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So just take a moment to just ground yourself back. Notice how peaceful you feel. Notice that whatever you look at, that same piece is there, whether you close your eyes or you open your eyes. Just acknowledge that that piece is there, whatever object you look at. And so you're teaching your mind, this piece is always there, no matter what seems to happen on the level of form. It's a very valuable spiritual lesson. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the Ujayi breathing meditation. So maybe let me just check in with you and ask, so any thoughts on that? Did the breathing technique work? Have you tried it with exercise?
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying it with exercise, that'll be something to give a go.
Yeah.
Going for a walk this afternoon, so I'll give that a go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just have you got the have you done Ujjayi breathing in yoga before?
No, I've
So I think you
not.
said you yeah. So it's a yogic breathing technique. The idea is that when you do it, it compresses the lungs and it gets more of the carbon dioxide out on the exhale. So you want to try and fully empty your lungs.
Yeah, I was wondering about
Okay.
that and the pressure. Yeah.
So you go. So like you fogging sunglasses, do that, but then you close your mouth. It's like a ha, but close your mouth. So it becomes kind of a sound like that. And you'll feel that your stomach muscles contract a bit. And so what that does is it expels all the air out. So you empty your lungs completely. So there's nothing else left. And that creates a bit of a vacuum into which then the air wants to rush. So when you breathe in again, more likely to be using your full lung capacity if you breathe this way. And you'll find that you can start with walking, but you can apply it in any form of exercise, particularly the steady state stuff. So when running or cycling or swimming's a little different because you're going underwater. You don't try it with swimming, but any land-based constant activity where it's just ongoing is helpful. It's a good opportunity to learn this Ujjayi breathing, and then you can learn to adapt it to other sports. Squash, it's quite hard. I found it quite difficult because it's not regular. You're not just running. You've got to hit the ball. So that's distracting. You can't really be focusing on your breathing because your attention needs to be elsewhere. So it had to become automatic. But it did in time. I taught myself to do this. It took me about 4 or 5 months, and then I remember the first game I played, I nearly died. I was like, my God, I can't breathe, but I forced it, and I just kept doing the breathing, the Ujjayi breathing, and it was like, actually, it is possible. The first squash match was very difficult, and I struggled. But, I persevered with the breathing, and that was the major victory. I also happened to win the match eventually, although it might have been an easier win if I'd breathed conventionally. I was determined to learn. So it's a really great addition to your breathwork tool, your breathwork kit. Um, it's it puts you into alpha state. It makes your experience of exercise much more enjoyable. It actually gives you more endurance, more energy. So why not use it? And apart from the exercise, it's a spiritual practice as well. So you can just breathe this way, and as you just did, it's very, very relaxing way to meditate. So any questions on that? No Ujayi breathing, on how to use it in exercise, the technique. And you both do it.
Yeah. Yes.
Good. So like anything, just practice. This is one you can practice all the time. So if you're walking, you can do it. You could do it while you're driving, particularly any physical activity. Just focus on the breathing. Get into this nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breathing. You'll find that even if you walking briskly or jogging, you don't really need to breathe more than 10 or 12 breaths a minute. It slows the breathing down. So that's also part of the benefit. Just doing that. So just do that for 20 breaths and notice the difference. We did it the other day, but I'm not sure Karen was there. So just kind of panting, fast breathing, 20 breaths, and just see how that feels. So how's that feeling?
Not nearly as calm.
You can feel a bit of stress arising just from that very short breathing, because physiologically when you breathe through your mouth, you activate sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight response. It's designed to get you all G'd up. When you breathe through your nose, you activate parasympathetic, and that's designed to relax you. And that's the way we physiologically wired up. Every human being is. So you may as well use the physiology, which interestingly is again, is a choice, isn't it? You start noticing this choice between the thought systems everywhere. There's a choice between now two different nervous systems, two different kinds of responses. And you can't really reconcile them. You must choose between them. Yeah, there's a bit more there if you want to read or listen to the video or watch the video, give a full demonstration there. And it's also in the description is in the breathwork course, breathwork one pager that I have sent you as well. So it includes other techniques as well. But it's a very simple technique. You can practice it, whenever you're moving, and you can practice it just as a breathwork technique when you're sitting. I find that sound quite soothing. It sounds a bit like the ocean, doesn't it? So it can be part of the meditation to just soothe your mind. So while the understanding of some key concepts is a foundational requirement, to attain it, genuine enlightenment is much more about experiencing the flow state consistently in your life than just intellectually understanding the concept. It's actually experiential. That's what the breathing techniques help you do. All the breathing techniques you're learning through this course will help you get into and stay in flow more often in your life. But if enlightened, why wouldn't you practice them regularly then? If enlightened masters like Yeshua, the Buddha, Lao Tzu hadn't done spiritual practices like breathwork and meditation, they wouldn't have lived in a state of flow and demonstrated the truth of what they said by example. So it wasn't just theory, they actually demonstrated it. They lived it. Example has profoundly changed the world as their teachings have become the three of the world's major religions. So emulate them. Make the flow state your new normal state this year, and doing these kinds of breathing practices and meditation is a key way of making that that resolution come true. So I give you breath break recordings, particularly starting next week with the daily lessons. Every day you get a couple of breath break recordings which you can use and which incorporate the Ujayi breathing and breath watching. It's all in there. It's going to start on Monday, so watch that. All you need to do then is listen to the recordings, and I'll send you every day and carry on doing the 1 year program to keep practicing and go more deeply, start mastering mastering the art of letting go, we call it. So there's a recorded discussion where I went into this. You can read that, listen to that if you want. Talked about some participants who are experiencing some resistance to the breath break recordings. And she just shared how it helped her shift out of an anxious state that she'd quite caught from someone else. Okay, and then gonna cover a little bit of this. So yeah, any questions on the Ujjayi breathing? Let's just have a look at some of these advanced techniques of letting go. So it's here where we want. Okay, so these advanced letting go techniques. It's worth looking at these very shorter letting go processes. So there's a 2-step letting go process, which gets the very core, the very essence of the letting go process. It's 2 steps. First step is becoming aware of your thoughts and emotions. So you bring to mind the thoughts, emotions, and And once you're aware of them, you decide to let go of the pain. It's a decision. But you've got to face it first. And the meditation guides you through that process. So, and I can guide you through this. Let's just cover the rest of the processes. So, Hugh Len's Ho'oponopono process. I just modified it. So this guy called Hugh Len based it on the traditional Hawaiian Ho'oponopono process, it was called, that he learned from his teacher, a Hawaiian kahuna named Mona Simeona. Very simple. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. That's uh, very four simple sentences that you can say to help you let go of whatever it is that you're struggling with. So I'm sorry for the erroneous thinking that's disturbing my peace. I acknowledge the error, in other words. Then help me let this error go. And I'll let it go completely. This is my modified version. Help me let this error go. So it's asking your higher self, the Holy Spirit, to help you let it go. And there's an affirmation that's done. I've now let it go completely. Thank you for helping me to do that. So there's a gratitude to higher self and the Holy Spirit. And I love myself unconditionally. And finally, saying I'm perfect love. So that's a modified version. So just taking yourself through this process can, be profoundly helpful. If the ego has, convinced you of its negative story, going through the 6 steps, either the 4 shorter ones, if you can only remember those, or the 6 that I've suggested, helps to confront it and to let it go. And that's the power of it. Another process is to help you to let go of what's not serving you. So any thoughts on the Ho'oponopono? Just something that you do yourself. Idea is that it's, it was based on the original prayer, an original Hawaiian process where they would all get together, and if there was anything to be resolved, the tribe would, the guidance of the kahuna there was a letting go of the past, and they asked their ancestors for help. The Ho'oponopono just modifies that and says, well, it's actually just it's all in your own mind. So very, very similar to A Course in Miracles, different spiritual tradition, but conclusion is very, very similar. All right, so this is the original Ho'oponopono prayer, which I modified a little bit. That Hugh Len learned from Mona Simeona, he was his mentor, and then he just made it very, very simple. Just these 4 simple sentences. So maybe one of you want to read that, Mona Simeona's prayer. Elaine, if you can read that. Divine Creator, Father, Mother, Son is one.
Divine Creator, Father, Mother, Son as one. If I, my family, relatives, and ancestors have forgotten you in thoughts, words, deeds, and actions from the beginning of our creation to the present, we ask your forgiveness. Let this cleanse, purify, release, cut all the negative memories, blocks, energies, and vibrations, and transmute these unwanted energies to pure light. And it is done.
Oh, so that's a longer version of the Ho'oponopono, which you might prefer. You know, you're welcome to use it if you want. Sorry. I don't know when flying there. Um, welcome to use it. So it's all about bringing up the darkness, acknowledging it, and then letting it go, which is what the two-step process is about. So the more you look at these different letting go techniques in other traditions, you see that this is common. This is the awareness and then the decision to let it go are very common amongst them. So I've included these techniques from other traditions to help you. You might find these very useful, very helpful, and in which case use them. If not, then don't. But most people have found Ho'oponopono particularly helpful. It's there's a book written on it, a couple of books actually. You can read about it, and it's kind of it's a way that this radical forgiveness teaching is getting into the world in a maybe a more acceptable form for many people. Okay, then there's a forgiveness prayer. So Karen, if you can read that, so that again, it's another way of doing it. You can read it, you can write it out. So you can read that for us.
Yep. I bless this day and give thanks for my life. I forgive all the people who have apparently hurt me completely. And I ask all people I have apparently hurt to forgive me. I apologize to myself for all my wrongs to myself and my wrongs to others. I apologize for all my apparent hurts or wrongs to all life forms. With this release, freedom, peace, power, and new life, I bless all creation in the entire universe, and I fill the entire universe with my love. I love and bless the earth, all life, and all humanity. I love, bless, and respect the visible and the invisible. I rejoice and give thanks for my new life, power, and health. I give complete blessing and love to all life, always.
And then just say that in the personal. So put your
Okay.
name there.
I, Karen, deserve the divine love of God. I, Karen, am the divine daughter of God. Amen.
Which means so be it. So it is.
Mm.
So that's another form. These are all forms that can work if it resonates. If you feel like that's helpful, you can read it, you can write it out, you can practice it. It's there for you because you might find that like that maybe that forgiveness prayer or the original Ho'oponopono prayer just really helps. It's just really kind of does it for you, maybe moves you emotionally, and then you have a powerful technique which you can use to help you let go when it's difficult. So that's why I've included these included these shorter letting go processes, I call them. And then you can put your forgiveness in writing as well. So this is a very powerful powerful thing to do. Try writing the following sentence out, and then just fill in the blanks appropriately by hand. You must really think about what you're writing about and your underlying intent as you write it. So it's saying I, and then you state your name, forgive you, and you name the person, and you acknowledge that they're just a projection. My projection for, and then whatever it is that you think they have done to you. And you name it. For doing this to me. All is forgiven and released completely. We are one. So I can highly recommend that you write it out, write the sentence by hand 70 times a day. 35 times in the morning, 35 times in the evening. Do that for 7 days. And whatever issue you're working with, you'll find after that time will almost certainly dissipate. Perhaps be completely gone, because you can't write this out. Remember, every time you speak it or you write it, it's an affirmation of the truth. So you're really affirming this new truth as you write it out. So I did it. I had some issues with my dad. I did it years ago with my father, and it was enormously helpful. I really let go of a lifelong issue with him, and it kind of collapsed it. And he didn't really change, but I changed. That was the point. And so I was much more at peace with it. And that's the point of the exercise. So I'll remind you in the emails that I send in the daily schedule to do this, because it's a very powerful way of shifting, particularly something difficult. It's really a difficult situation. This can certainly work for that. Yeah, so I can recommend doing that 35 times morning, 35 times evening. Pick an issue that's particularly difficult for you. Maybe it's the reason you came on the course. Like you just can't let it go. Well, you use that issue and then customize the statement to yourself so that the statement is meaningful. And if you write it out, many times, you might find it changes as well. You might find you add in other things. So it becomes a transformational process. The writing becomes a transformational process, which is designed to free your mind from the toxic negativity.
Could I just
Yeah,
get
so
a little
question on that one?
Sorry, could I just get a little clarification on the word projection?
Sure.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
I think it's like a creation. Well, this is just my initial thought, is a creation of your mind, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's quite a deep concept, actually.
Yeah.
Did you do any Jungian psychology? They talk about projection.
No, I haven't.
Yeah. So the idea is that we project our own stuff, whatever is within us, onto others. And so the person is just the mirror or the
Okay.
projection of your own negative thoughts and emotions, your own ego. And that's why relationships are so powerful. They can be so damaging because we just project onto each other and then judge each other. and condemn each other for our own faults.
Yeah.
But if you see it as such, and you go, okay, I understand this idea of projection, that I'm just projecting my own negativity outwards onto this person and blaming them because that seemingly gets me off the hook. It feels better than acknowledging my own faults. Then I have the key to transformation, you see, because they trigger me. What happens if someone really pushes your buttons? They're just your projection.
Yeah.
So they're just showing you something about yourself that you don't want to see, that you maybe denied and hidden, and now it comes up. You experience that strong negative emotion, and it's not pleasant, and the temptation is to blame them. Go, you did it, you're the problem, you hurt me, you did this, you did that, and it's all your fault, when in fact they're just mirroring your own stuff. They're just your projection. They're the mirror. And if you don't like what you see in the mirror, then don't look at the mirror, don't blame the mirror, look within, go, okay. I mean, if you look at the mirror and you start blaming the mirror for your appearance, that's insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's not the mirror that's the problem. It's you. So it's like, okay, well, let me, take a long, hard look at myself. And if there's things that I need to address and let go of, then let me do that. So this statement, my projection, just acknowledges all of that the person's just my projection, and really I'm just judging myself. And I can free myself because of that. I don't have to keep projecting onto this person. I can let go of that and say, no, these mistakes are just mistakes, they're just errors. Instead of projecting them out and blaming someone and making them real, I can let them go. And then miraculously, what typically happens is that relationship gets better, and it improves, and the other person experiences a similar kind of healing, and the relationship then becomes a holier one. It goes from the special to the holy side. That's
making sense. Yeah.
And this is why the course is such a powerful tool for transformation, because everything's your projection, and you acknowledge that, then you get to see your own ego in the mirror that the projection presents, you see.
Yeah.
Go into it in more detail in the 10-step process, which I'll go through, but not today. This diagram sort of shows it quite well. So the descent into hell tells us how we got here. And what it's saying really is that we don't want to face our own guilt. So we project it onto someone else. That can be a concept of a God, fearful, wrathful God, which is just an illusion in our mind. But most often we do it to other people. To the people in our lives, we project our stuff onto them, and then we blame them, and then we have special relationships and drama and all this accusation and blame and attack that come with this attempt to project our guilt. And that's why, relationships are so toxic, because we're trying to offload our guilt and say, I'm not the guilty one. See, very childishly, the ego is saying, I'm not the guilty one, you're guilty. So this fearful, wrathful, vengeful God, which we've made up, is going to punish you rather than me. That's what's going on. It's very childish, but that's what happens when we accuse and blame and attack others in any way. We're saying, I'm not guilty, you're the guilty one. God's going to punish you, therefore I'm off the hook. The ego tells us that's going to work, but actually it doesn't, because the more you do that, the more that you perpetuate your guilt. So if I keep giving you something, then I'm really saying, I'm affirming that I have a lot of it to give, aren't I?
Mhm.
Otherwise I couldn't keep giving it to you. So if I keep giving you guilt in the form of blame, because that's all blame is, it's guilt, then I'm saying that I have a lot of guilt, and I'm just perpetuating the guilt the more I do that, you see. So it doesn't get rid of it. The ego tells you it is going to get rid of it, but it doesn't get rid of it. It just makes it worse. The more you accuse and you blame and you attack, the more the guilt is fostered. And then you have to project it some more, because the ego's only solution to guilt is to project it. And so you get caught up in the cycle of blaming and accusing and attacking. And it's very damaging to your peace of mind. You can't find peace of mind if you're accusing and blaming and attacking others all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, not possible. And of course, counterattack, if you keep attacking others, they'll attack you back, and then you fear. So the fear, which is a false expectation of punishment appearing real, then seems to be very real, because now other people are seemingly attacking you, and you get caught up in the cycle of accusation, blame, attack, and the fear that you're going to be attacked. Even if you're not being attacked currently, you fear that you will be, because you've bought into this thought system. And the source of it all is guilt. And the source of guilt is the idea of separation. That we think, do we really have destroyed love? That's the delusion. So if you think you've already done that, then you feel guilty for it. Then you deserve to be punished for it, you see.
Yeah.
So that's what projection does. We project our own guilt and sin outwards, and we try and offload it, but it doesn't work. And you can keep trying to do that, but all you get is more guilt and sin, and more of its consequences, fear and attack. And we see that when human relationships really break down, then you see that pattern, don't you?
Yeah.
Just look at any conflict zone in the world, any war. Let's take Israel or the Ukraine currently. That's what happens, and then it becomes an outright conflict and a war. But it's just groups of people projecting onto each other, not being willing to really go, hang on, this is just my own stuff. This is not the problem. I don't really have an enemy. The problem is not the enemy. The problem is me. So let me let go of my own stuff, and then I won't have an enemy anymore. And the idea of going to war with someone and killing them then becomes insane. So, well, I'm killing myself. That's not a very clever thing to do. So the ego can only maintain that illusion by continuously projecting. You look at the deeply entrenched negativity in these communities, cultures that go to war. Take Israel and the Arabs. I mean, it's just been going on for thousands of years. Each side projects onto the other. They're actually very similar, actually the same, but they don't see that. They see that they're separate and different, and then they project onto the other, and then they hate the other. And then the other is worthy of attack and condemnation and death. In fact, they're just condemning themselves. If they realized that, the war would stop, wouldn't it? You go, that's just insane. What are we doing? Stop. But the ego is very persistent, so it keeps this illusion of projection going. It's its chief weapon to continue, and so these conflicts just become entrenched for hundreds, thousands of years. We just keep doing the same thing over and over again, getting the same really dysfunctional, unhappy, miserable results. War doesn't make anyone happy, but we still do it because the ego is addicted to to the idea that somehow you can get rid of your guilt by projecting onto someone else and attacking them. That makes sense. So what you got really here is a very deep insight into human psychology and why the world is the way it is and why we have so much of this attack behavior, accusation, blame, attack. And you only need to just look at any newspaper. You open a newspaper on any day and you'll see this. It's all over the place in the paper. And this is considered normal behavior in our insane society. But if you start to see it for what it is, you see the insanity of it, and you understand why the ego does this, and why we've created this world of accusation, blame, and attack. Because from an ego point of view, this is the only way out of guilt. This is the way to resolve your guilt.
Yeah.
Whereas the Holy Spirit just says, none of it was ever true. You're not guilty. You're not guilty. You don't need to project, do you? Your guilt. You were never guilty because you never did destroy love. It's not possible. The whole thing's just an illusion in your mind. The idea that you are separate and that therefore you're guilty for the separation is complete fantasy. You actually can't do it. And therein lies the healing. It's like, okay, well, if you're not guilty, then all of this falls away. The fear, the attack, the idea of a fearful, wrathful God that's going to punish you, and everything that follows just drops away, and you no longer believe in any of it. So you're free of the whole story of guilt and the victim identity, and the lowest self-concept that we can possibly have is a victim. I'm a victim of an unfair world. I'm unfairly treated. I'm living in this helpless, innovative little life, which is hell, limitation, lack, loneliness, suffering, and inevitable death. And I try and find some way to make my little lot in life better. So I might seek pleasure, avoid pain. I seek to alleviate my guilt by projecting onto others. We have all these strategies, ways of trying to deal with this helpless, innovative little life situation or hell, which don't work. The only thing that's going to work is to let it go at its root. That's the idea that you are a separate self. That's the problem. Once you let go of that, then all of the consequences of that idea of separation start falling away one by one. And that's then becomes the reinterpretation of the ego's dream by the Holy Spirit of the awareness of oneness. So in this diagram, you have a complete explanation of how the mind works, of also why the world exists. So if you look at down here, you've got the Big Bang. That's the most commonly accepted cosmological theory. They figured out that the universe began with one giant explosion of energy, something like 14 billion years ago. But they have no idea why. The cosmologists can't tell you why that happened. As Rupert Sheldrake says, modern science says is what you get one free miracle, the Big Bang, and everything then follows from there in a logical fashion, but no one can explain why that happened. So this teaching explains it. It says, well, it happened because apparently there's an idea of separation, and the guilt and the sin, the feeling of having done something wrong, and the fear of punishment was so intense that we had to run away. We literally went out of our minds because the ego convinced us that our minds were a very dangerous place and we were going to be killed by this fearful, wrathful, vengeful God. So we had to run away and hide somewhere, and we hid in the material universe that we invented in form to try and escape, the vengeance of God. But of course, we haven't escaped it because it's now built in. This whole thought system underpins the physical universe, and so it keeps showing up. We keep getting guilt and sin and attack and sickness and death, and on it goes, because it's entrenched in it's the foundation of this world and this universe, which is why the place doesn't work, and it never will work because it can't work based on this faulty thought system. And so this is a teaching that's making all of this clear. It's actually telling us why the universe came into being and how it came into being. When I understood this, I was like, wow, that's just amazing. That's so powerful. I finally, understanding what the hell's going on here, why I'm here, and why the place is such a mess. Okay, well, this explains it. And then the only thing to do once you understand this is to let it go. Just go, well, it's just a complete mess. So I've got to let this go. The entire idea of separation go, because that's the problem. I've got to let it go at that level. That's the only way out of the insane dream. And I must do that systematically and progressively. As these things show up, I must let them go and deny them and say, no, none of this is true. Does that make sense, Karen? I'm talking particularly to you because Elaine's seen this many times, but
Yeah.
they're kind of important. This is the essence of the teaching. It's like, okay, there's a logic here. Well, you either accept it or you don't. If you don't accept it, then you've got to find another theory. I don't know of any other theory that that describes so accurately the world that we seem to live in.
Mm-hmm.
That it actually explains it. And well, then if this isn't correct, then what is? What did create the universe? Most people have no idea, do they? Have no, even if they're aware of the Big Bang, which many people aren't. Okay, it just kind of randomly happened. The cosmologists don't give us the answer. It just kind of randomly happened. Okay, well, maybe why it happened would be interesting to know. So the difference between science and philosophy, and ultimately, religion or spirituality, is that science just deals with the how. It says, okay, so now this has seemingly happened. We'll talk about how the universe evolved and how everything now works in the system. But the much more interesting question is why it happened. That's a philosophical question, not a scientific question. You can't answer it with the how. You must go to why.
Yeah.
Because scientists feel very vulnerable in that state because they don't know why. Their guess is as good as anyone else's. There's no particular expertise there that tells them why. They're then venturing out of science into philosophy, which makes them uncomfortable. So they would typically scurry back into this. I watched a lecture by a very erudite quantum physicist at Cambridge University, and he's going on about quantum mechanics and current state of science and the standard model, they call it, which is the best explanation of the universe mathematically. And then he said one very interesting thing, which I found very interesting, but probably the rest of the audience just missed it. He said, well, at time t equals 0, i.e. no time, before the Big Bang, we actually have no idea what happened, what went on. No, all of our models break down. Just one sentence. And then he just said, but never mind about that. We'll just carry on and let's try and perfect our standard model and get better at explaining the universe in sort of scientific terms and mathematical terms. But what he just done was stumble over the truth. as Winston Churchill once said, he said, most men stumble over the truth from time to time, but most pick themselves up and hurry off as if nothing had ever happened. Quite wise was Winston. And that's exactly what he did. He stumbled over the truth of eternity. Time t equals 0 is eternity. It's this blue circle. It's beyond time and space and all models. You can't model it, you can't frame it, you can't explain it. It just is. Stumbled over that and then just hurried off and went, well, we'll just go back into the world of illusion. Whereas, philosophical thinkers, mystics go into that experientially and say, so what does time t equals 0 feel like? No time, a state of timeless awareness. And if I really enter into that, then it's not just a concept, it's actually an experience. And I can experience this. And if I experience this, then this puts everything that seems to happen in this world of illusion into proper perspective, because it's now got a proper reference point of eternity, and I will perceive more and more that everything here is false, that actually this is true reality, and everything here is just a false reality, an illusion, in other words. It's designed to create an alternative reality and cover over this time t equals 0, eternity. And the Big Bang was just a massive distraction from eternity. So instead of getting caught up in trying to understand it better and explain it, you just realize what it is and let it go. Say, well, it's not helpful to go into trying to explain an illusion more, get more accurate about our explanations. It's actually just helpful to let it go and realize that actually all that really exists is time, this timeless awareness. Yeah, so that's, we refer back to this diagram frequently in the course and afterwards. So there's many aspects to it. There's various elements that come in and we can highlight, but overall as a theory, an explanation of life, universe, and everything, it's I think as close as you can come in words to explaining it.
It's not just 42. Sorry.
No.
Sorry, I had to.
Yeah, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. Yeah, it's actually quite simple. It's not rocket science. It's just an idea, and that sort of makes sense. Okay, well, just an idea. The whole thing's an idea. And the quantum physicist, there's a guy called James Jeans, who wrote a book in which he said, the universe begins to look more like a great thought than a great machine. This was said 100 years ago. We're still trying to wrap our heads around that. Most people are not there at all. It's not a mechanistic machine. It's just a thought. So the world is just a projection of thought outwards. Well, what happens if that thought is all false? You see, what happens if the foundation of that thought system that's been projected out as the universe is not true? Then you'd be living in a false world, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And
that's exactly the theory. That's exactly what the Yeshua and other mystics are saying to us. You're living in a false world. You're living in a dream world, Neo. You watched The Matrix. You've been living in a dream world. What you thought was real isn't really real. It was just a hallucination. And when you awaken, you realize that everything here in the red boxes and the red arrows, it's all illusion. None of it's true at all. Thank God it's not true, because if it's true, we're in hell. There's no escape. That's that's the logical position. Okay, well, if it's true, then there's no escape. Then you are living in a body. You are living a helpless, enervated little life. The limitation, the lack, the loneliness, the suffering, the sickness, the death, it's all inevitable. And that's a very depressing reality. Yeah, people get caught up in this box of being the victim, and they'll be depressed because what's the point of any of it? Why would you go through all of that limitation, lack, loneliness, suffering, sickness, and death, and then you just die? And so what was the point of it all? That's the question. This is the question teachers, spiritual teachers, philosophers, scientists have been asking forever. What is the point? The Course answers that and says the point is there's no point. We just made a mistake. Don't try and justify the mistake. Just accept that it is a mistake and that it needs correction, that you can correct it. So the point of your life in the illusion becomes to correct your mistakes and find your way back from this mistaken identity and false reality that you seem to be living in as a body in this fairly threatening world, back to pure formless awareness, perfect love. That becomes the function, the purpose of your life, correctly perceived. And that's what the Course is saying to us. So then it just becomes about, well, can you let go of these things as they arise? Because they can seem to be very real and very difficult and hurtful and painful and etc., etc. Can you actually let them go when they happen, seemingly happen, and let go of your ego's interpretation of them and accept that none of them are true and find a peace that surpasses all understanding, as the Apostle Paul called it in the Bible. Find a peace that's not logical in this world, but that nevertheless is possible if you are willing to transcend the logic of the ego. Because within the ego system, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you accept separation is real, then everything else follows. And within that thought system, how it's developed, and it all seems to be real and logical and makes sense. But there's a part of us that will never really reconcile with this because it's insane, and the part of us knows that. So we got to look, to the beyond the idea of separation that created it. Go, well, there's something outside of us. The idea of separation and the little bubble of thought that it invented is just not true. So outside of that lies true reality, and my only task is to find that and access it more and more while I'm here. That's going to make me indescribably happy ultimately, because there's no pain and suffering in this. There's just this perfect happiness forever, for all eternity. And so I can be done with this, really catastrophic. It's a disastrous thought system if you look at it honestly. Well, everyone's suffering, everyone's dying. It doesn't bring anyone peace, no happiness. Eventually you die. What a disaster. If you look at it honestly. Why would you want to keep that? Do you want to keep any of this systems as Jeshua? Once you understand it, you wouldn't want to keep it, would you? That's just completely insane. I don't want the system at all. No part of it, which means I have to relinquish my separate identity. That's the only price of freedom, is you can't be a separate self anymore. You have to let that go and accept that you are just pure formless awareness of perfect love, and only that, and nothing else. And that's what we're trying to do with this mind training. Every time you do some mind training, you're accepting this and you're denying this. Very simply put, that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Based on the philosophical underpinning. So, if you don't accept this, then the letting go doesn't make sense. If you don't believe this theory, then letting go makes no sense at all, does it?
Yeah.
Because it's real. What you're trying to let go of is real. So how can you let go of what's real? And why would you want to let go of its real? If you desire this reality, why would you want to let it go? You wouldn't. So the ego, won't accept any of this, and will tell you you're insane and crazy, and just get back in the box and follow its way. But once you know this, now you know this. There's no way back. You can't not know this. And so it becomes like, well, let's just go deeper into it. The only way out is through. You've got to really master this to get out of the matrix. And at least there is a way out. When I found this course, been searching and searching, it's like, oh, thank God, there actually is the truth. I'd asked for the truth. There is the truth. This is the truth, and this gives me a way out of this disastrous dream. And I don't have to, be stuck here forever, just going round and around in this insane world from one lifetime to the next, the cycle of birth and death, they call it in the East. Just going round and around, and seemingly with no point and no end to that. There's the timeline of consciousness. It explains it quite well. Just go round and around. You've got all the various traumas that you have in your life, maybe some successes as well. If you haven't really let them go and you're still attached, then that karma, which is just your ego, psychological and emotional attachments, that karma can cause you to come back. You come back and you have to have another life, and you play it all out again in a different way, different lifetime, but the same shit. Excuse my French, but that's what it is. It's just like, if you look at this sort of average, these are experiences that many people in the community have had. Major childhood trauma, like death of a parent. Well, I know John's father died when he was 10 or 11, I think. We've all had rejection by our special love. Another trauma is divorce, loss of a job. Lynn lost her job a couple of years ago, 2 jobs actually. Illness, sickness, heart attacks, major success, maybe sale of a business. Well, again, someone, John in the community actually did that. And then the existential crisis of retirement, and then illness, and then death. And this is common. This is how, this could be someone's life. If you're sitting in pure formless awareness of perfect love, looking at this, honestly, would you choose this? Would you go, oh yeah, I sign up for that. That sounds great. I'll be born and I'll go through, I'll lose my parent. Oh, that's really gonna hurt. I'm gonna feel lost and abandoned and angry and upset. And then I'm gonna try and compensate by marrying someone. But I'm gonna marry my surrogate parent, so actually it's gonna be a mess. So I'm gonna get divorced, and then I lose my job. And I mean, who in their right mind would sign up for all that? You'd be crazy to, if you're looking at it honestly. When you could have pure formless awareness with perfect love, just be an eternal bliss. Why would you choose any of this? So, and there's no good answer to that. Why would you? No, there's no justification for it. That's what Yeshua's saying. There's no justification for the world, so just let it all go, and go back to this eternal reality he calls the kingdom of heaven in the Bible, or we call pure formless awareness of perfect love. So, any questions?
No, that's good.
Excellent. Okay. Well, you understand the metaphysics of the course now. Understood all that. It's actually quite
I got
simple.
it all.
Got it all.
Sorry,
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
Working on it.
Yeah, but the art of it, the art of letting go, is to apply it. So the theory is one thing. Okay, yeah, I no, I got it. Yeah, I get the metaphysics, but when the shit hits the fan, as it does, can you apply this? That's the key. And go, okay, I'm not going to be tempted to go into the ego's drama and story. I am going to let it go, and I'm going to go into this awareness. I'll rise above the battleground. Yeshua puts it, and I can go into this awareness, and I can actually be quite calm and not react to any of this drama, even though it seems to be happening to me. That's the test, and that is the practice, which is lifelong. So just when you think you've got it, no, I've really got this sorted. And then along comes something else, and you're like, no, maybe not so sorted because I still reacted. And then you just got to be patient with yourself and go, okay, well, it's a work in progress. I'm gonna just keep letting go of that reactivity. To ultimately free myself back into this awareness. And this might be interesting, the Holy Trinity. I'm kind of doing a little run through all these diagrams, but this kind of this is one of the most misunderstood concepts in Christianity. Most Christians don't understand it. Even Christian theologians don't understand it. I've read treatises on the Holy Spirit, Holy Trinity, and they're just not really getting it. Because what they're trying to do is make it real. They're trying to make the other aspects of the Trinity real. So then, is God one or is God three? We're not sure. And it all gets kind of confusing. If you understand that it's just these are temporary constructs in an illusion designed to help you to free your mind from the illusion. So they will fade away ultimately with time and space. And in pure formless awareness of perfect love or heaven, they don't exist. It becomes much more understandable. So they are an operating system while you're in the illusion to help you to get from this state of being completely attached to the illusion of the world and time and your experiences in the physical universe of time and space, and really identifying with them, and to find your way back to pure formless awareness of perfect love from that very separated state. Well, if you didn't have something in between, then it would just be space, and it'll be like, well, never the twain shall meet. You're just marooned. It's like you're marooned in this world, and there's no way back. So what Yeshua has given us is a way home. He said, okay, this thought system of the Holy Trinity, which incorporates a true self or Christ self, which knows its source. It knows pure formless awareness of perfect love experientially, and knows that's true. So that's always its reference point, but it can also perceive the world. And it perceives the world with the help of the Holy Spirit, which is just a remembrance of love that reminds it that these none of these experiences are real. So then you have the ability to perceive everything correctly. That's true perceptions or Christ's vision. These are the miracles of corrections, and your perception or forgiveness or letting go. It's also been called surrender or acceptance. Of course, calls it salvation, atonement, or one-ment, enlightenment, satori, rebirth, awakening, resurrection. It's a process of raising yourself up from just being aware of your ego and its needs and desires to up into the true self, the Christ. The more you become identified with this true self, the closer you get to God, getting closer and closer to pure formless awareness of perfect love, until eventually there's really no difference, and you just kind of merge back in there. And Yeshua phrases that as God takes the final step. But you need to be ready for that final step. If you haven't done the work of letting go of your ego, you're never going to be ready for that step. So this Holy Trinity is to get you ready for that. And you do that by consistently letting go of all of your illusions. That's the true perceptions or Christ's vision, miracles and the corrections. So you're no longer attached to any of this, although it seems to be still happening. It doesn't just disappear overnight. You're no longer attached to any of it. You perceive it correctly. You're at peace. And the more peaceful you get, the more you are becoming like pure formless awareness of perfect love and merging back into this state. So it makes sense. So that's the Holy Trinity. If ever you have a conversation with a Christian, you can now explain to them what the Holy Trinity is. And this is probably not something they would understand because it hasn't been explained properly to them. It's an operating system for your life designed to help you to awaken, essentially. Okay, so any questions? We've done quite a bit actually we've covered. We'll go through this stuff again, but covered in basics. So I'm glad you're here, Karen. So shall we have a look now at our text reading? Any comments or questions?
No.
Elaine?
No, it's clear.
Okay. Good. So let's go into the reading for today. So this is where are we? Should bring up that's yesterday's. So let's do today's. We've got Wholeness and Spirit. Okay, so this is section 5 of chapter 1 of the text. I think Karen, this might be your first text section. We did the whole introductory section, but this is the text which lays out the theory and goes into some detail into that theory and the metaphysics of it. So it's the underpinning of the workbook, which we're going to get to start next week, which is the practical application of the theory. So this one is called Wholeness and Spirit, or in our translated language, wholeness and pure formless awareness. So spirit is just pure formless awareness, which hopefully makes it more practical and understandable to what it actually is. So number 1, if you can read, so what we typically do is read it in the original. That's the top paragraph that's in black, and then the alternative comes below. That's in gray, and the alternative version has translated terms. So read it just sentence by sentence. It's the easiest way to do it. Miracle is much like a body, and then once you read sentence 1, you go down to read corrections are much like the body.
Did you want me to read?
Yeah,
okay.
you can read paragraph 1 for us. Just
okay.
Original, sentence by sentence, and then go down to the alternative.
The miracle is much like the body in that both are learning aids for facilitating a state in which they become unnecessary. Corrections are much like the body in that both are learning aids for facilitating a state in which they become unnecessary. When spirit's original state of direct communication is reached, neither the body nor the miracle serves any purpose. When pure formless awareness as the original state of direct experience is reached, neither the body nor corrections serve any purpose. While you believe you are in a body, however, you can choose between loveless and miraculous channels of expression. However, while I believe I am in a body, I can choose between loveless and corrective channels of expression. I think I'm on 4. Yeah.
4, yeah.
You can make an empty shell, but you cannot express nothing at all. I can make an empty shell, but I cannot express nothing at all. You can wait, delay, paralyze yourself, or reduce your creativity to almost nothing. I can wait, delay, paralyze myself, or reduce my awareness of truth to almost nothing. but you cannot abolish it. But I cannot abolish it. You can destroy your medium of communication, but not your potential. I can weaken my ability to communicate, but not my potential. You did not create yourself. I did not extend myself.
Okay, and then read it from the top. I'm just editing a bit here. Read it from the top in the alternative.
Okay. Corrections are much like the body in that both are learning aids for facilitating a state in which they become unnecessary. When I experience my original state of pure formless awareness directly, neither the body nor corrections serve any purpose. However, while I believe I am in a body, I can choose between loveless and corrective channels of expression. I can make an empty shell, but I cannot express nothing at all. I can wait, delay, paralyze myself, or reduce my awareness of truth to almost to nothing, but I cannot abolish it. I can weaken my ability to communicate, but not my potential. I did not extend myself.
Okay, so thoughts on that? What's he saying there?
Well, it sounds like we are this pure formless awareness, whether we know it or not. And I can choose to live in the ego, live in this loveless state, and make myself basically a shell, but I am still, even if that's the case, I'm still this pure formless awareness. So I can't express nothing, but I can delay,
Yeah.
right? I can paralyze myself, but I can't get rid of it because it's always there.
Yeah, it's what gives you life.
Yeah.
When we talk about eternal life, it's your fundamental awareness, without which you would have no life, no awareness at all. So you can't destroy it. It's indestructible. The body can die, form changes, but that awareness is eternal. So no matter how much you think you've destroyed it, you can't destroy it. Let's go back to our diagram here. You just can't do it. Not possible. Let's go back up. Not possible to do it. No matter what, no matter how much you think you've sinned, and you really have destroyed this fundamental awareness, you can't, because you would have no awareness if you'd done that. You would simply cease to exist. Well, you clearly do exist. There's awareness, there's thought, there's something going on. So you do. So the guilt is ridiculous. You can't destroy your true awareness. You can only think you can. That's the whole point. That's the whole problem. You think you can do something that's not possible. And now we've got to let go of that delusion, which is just a false belief. And we wait and we delay and we paralyze ourselves, reduce our awareness of truth almost to nothing. People, you can observe, people do this all the time. You've maybe done some of it. We've all delayed, that's for sure. We master procrastinators, not wanting to learn this. Because the ego knows that if you learn this, then that's it, it's game over. There's no more ego, no more separate self, no more life in this world, no more world. It all just, disappears. pulls the plug on it. So it's highly resistant. But it's just saying, well, at some point you're going to have to learn this, because you will find that as long as you're here in this world, you will experience pain and suffering, and ultimately death. So if you want out of that game of suffering and death, then this is the way. Okay. Any other thoughts on number one? Elaine, you good with that? Karen, happy with number one?
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to number two then. Elaine, if you can read that.
The basic decision of the miracle-minded is not to wait on time any longer than is necessary. The basic decision of the correction-minded is not to delay in time any longer than is necessary. Time can waste as well as be wasted. Time can waste as well as be wasted. The miracle worker therefore accepts the time control factor gladly. Therefore, correction makers accept the time control factor gladly. He recognizes that every collapse of time brings everyone closer to the ultimate release from time, in which the Son and the Father are one. They recognize that every collapse of time brings everyone closer to the ultimate release from time, in which the extension and its source are one. Equality does not imply equality now. Equality does not imply equality now on the timeline. When everyone recognizes that he has everything, individual contributions to the sonship will no longer be necessary. And when everyone recognizes they have everything, individual contributions to the extension will no longer be necessary. And from the top, the basic decision of the correction-minded is not to delay in time any longer than is necessary. Time can waste as well as be wasted. Therefore, correction makers accept the time control factor gladly. They recognize that every collapse of time brings everyone closer to the ultimate release from time, in which the extension and its source are one. Equality does not imply equality now on the time scale. When everyone recognizes that they have everything, individual contributions to the extension will no longer be necessary.
Okay.
So for the correction in the mind, it's not to delay time any longer. No more wasting time. So once we've decided that we are going to accept this correction, then time control, we will accept this time control factor. So once
I don't
we
understand what he means by the time control factor and the collapse of time.
Yeah, and then it talks about the equality. Equality does not imply equality now on the timeline.
So I just put in the timeline there, because what he's saying is not everyone is there yet. Hasn't woken up to the. Let's go back to the timeline. People haven't woken up to the fact of their equality. So on the timeline, it seems like, it takes almost endless time for people to realize that they're one. So on the timeline, we seem to be caught up in time and space and in illusions. So although we still are one, there's only really one awareness, and that's only now. We're not aware of it. We're caught up in this illusion of separation continuously, and that's what time is designed to do, is to distract us from this awareness and get us to focus on all the being a separate self and the separated reality that seems to be real. Just a massive distraction device to distract you from the truth. When everyone recognizes they have everything, individual contributions to extension will no longer be necessary. So if you truly recognize that you have everything, nothing you need, there's nothing you want, because you are just pure formless awareness of perfect love, the idea of an individual contribution becomes nonsensical. Doesn't exist anymore. Because you don't think you're an individual. Okay, so that paragraph makes sense.
Yeah.
Saying
Yeah.
don't delay, just these are the things to be wary of. You can waste time, you can procrastinate, none of which will help you, but eventually everyone must recognize who they are. So why not just get it over with? It's inevitable. Why not do it now rather than delay and suffer more? Okay, so let's move on to number 3 then. So, Karen, if you can read that.
Okay.
Just a little tip on the word atonement. If you say it as at one-ment in the alternative, that's although the words are the same, the pronunciation is very different. Atonement implies the idea of sin and guilt, and that you've got to atone for your mistakes. That's typically how it's interpreted in traditional Christian terms. At one-ment is completely different. At one-ment talks about becoming at one with everyone and everything. So hence at one-ment. So just say it like that in the alternative.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
So,
Okay. When the atonement has been completed, all talents will be shared by all the sons of God. When the at-one-ment has been completed, all talents will be shared by all the extensions of perfect love. God is not partial. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is not partial. All his children have his total love, and all his gifts are freely given to everyone alike. All its extensions have its total love, and all its gifts are freely given equally to everyone. Except ye become as little children means that unless you fully recognize your complete dependence on God, you cannot know the real power of the Son in his true relationship with the Father. Except ye become as little children means that unless I recognize my complete dependence on pure formless awareness of perfect love, I cannot know the real power of the extension in its true relationship with its source. The specialness of God's sons does not stem from exclusion, but from inclusion. The specialness of perfect love's extensions does not stem from exclusion, but from inclusion. All my brothers are special. All my companions are special. If they believe they are deprived of anything, their perception becomes distorted. If they believe they are deprived of anything, their perception becomes distorted. When this occurs, the whole family of God or the sonship is impaired in its relationships. When this occurs, the whole family of perfect love or the extension is impaired in its relationships.
And then from the top, the alternative.
When the at-one-ment has been completed, all talents will be shared by all extensions of perfect love. Pure, formless awareness of perfect love is not partial. All its extensions have its total love, and all its gifts are freely given equally to everyone. Except ye become as little children means that unless I fully recognize my complete dependence on pure, formless awareness of perfect love, I cannot know the real power of the extension in its true relationship with its source. The specialness of perfect love's extensions does not stem from exclusion, but from inclusion. All my companions are special. If they believe they are deprived of anything, their perception becomes distorted. When this occurs, the whole family of perfect love, or the extension, is impaired in its relationships.
Okay, well read. What does he mean there? What's he saying?
Well, that we all have this pure, formless awareness of perfect love, and it gives its gifts equally to everyone. And I can't know. Unless I'm looking at my complete dependence on the pure, formless awareness of perfect love, I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty with sentence 4. Like, I'm not quite getting the connection there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as little children, it means that unless I fully recognize my complete dependence on this awareness, pure formless awareness of love, cannot know the real power of the extension and its true relationship with its source. So I'm completely dependent on it because it's my life. It's my awareness. Without it, I would have no awareness whatsoever. That's why I'm completely dependent on it. You know, without it, I have nothing. I would be nothing. There would be no existence. So the idea that we can somehow disconnect from this and not be dependent on it is insane because this is what we are.
Mm-hmm.
I can never know the real power of the extension and its true relationship with its source because I am one with that source. And the extension is just, we call it an extension in our separated world because we're trying to use words to kind of reconcile us with this. But in truth, we are that source. That awareness is what we are and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
That's simple. That's the merging of the extension with the source of the Father and the Son, is we are that awareness. Period. End of. That's all we are. No other awareness. Nothing else is true. Nothing else really matters. Everything else is just an illusion designed to distract you from the fact that you are that awareness. That's the simple teaching.
Yeah. And then the specialness of the perfect love's extensions. So that would be all of us, and our specialness is because we are all part of the pure, formless awareness of perfect love. We are all one in that. No one is excluded. Everyone is included. So everyone is just as special because we are all this pure, formless awareness of perfect love.
Yeah. So everyone is special, which means no one is special.
Yeah.
We're all the same. Everyone's actually the same because it's the same awareness. And the illusion in this world is that everyone's different. That's what we've got to overcome. Because everyone has their, seemingly different bodies and unique personalities and identities and preferences and desires and hang-ups and problems and etc. On and on it goes, to special relationships. that seemingly makes them special and somehow different from others. And that's what's created the illusion of the world and the life that we think we live in the world. He's saying actually none of that's true, because we're all the same. There's actually only one awareness.
Yeah.
Behind it all.
I'm wondering if in 7, it says if they believe they are deprived of anything, their perception becomes distorted. But that would include me as well, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
So
can make it.
if we believe
Yeah.
that we are deprived of anything.
Yeah. We believe we are deprived of anything, our perception becomes distorted.
Yeah.
Because I can't, if I believe I'm deprived, then I'm denying that I'm everything. I'm denying this pure formless awareness of perfect love is me. Because in that awareness, it's complete, it's whole. There's no need for anything. It's just is what it is.
Yeah.
As soon as I think I've got needs, then I'm denying that and creating an illusion of myself, which it just covers over that pure formless awareness and prevents me from seeing it, from perceiving it, and from living it. And then we're impaired.
Yeah.
It's impaired in its relationships. And then we have these, impaired, dysfunctional lives and relationships. And we wonder why we're struggling, we're not happy. It's because we disconnected from our source and we tried to do the impossible. Do you see how impossible the ego's idea is? How can you not be what you are? How can you not be the fundamental awareness that you are in truth, that you always have been? How is that possible? The ego says it is possible. The Holy Spirit says, no, it's not possible. So what you're living in then is an impossible idea, an impossible dream, which you see as such in order to explode the whole thing, just implode the dream and realize that it's impossible. So it never really happened. And you see where the specialness, to relate to your point about specialness, see where the specialness comes in. If you believe that you are somehow special and other people are special, what you are denying is pure formless awareness of perfect love in favor of the specialness, which separates you and others away out of that pure formless awareness of perfect love. And now you make that specialness real. Now that specialness seems to define you and seems to be the fundamental premise of the reality that you've created. That makes sense.
Yes.
So that's why, the specialness, as hard as it is to accept, must go, because no one is special, whether they seem to be. We're born into special relationships. We have parents to start with, and then we have siblings, and then we have our special friends, and all of this leads us to believe that somehow we are special and separate from everyone else. And that's just not the case. We are the same as they are, and our journey, our spiritual journey, is to acknowledge that, to realize that we are not special. Whatever seems to happen on the level of form, whatever you seem to do or not do, and whatever abilities you seem to have or not have, the truth is that we are one. There's only one awareness. And really nothing else. Okay? So happy with that?
Yep.
Move on to number 4.
Ultimately, every member of the family of God must return. Ultimately, every member of the family of perfect love must return. The miracle calls him to return because it blesses and honors him. even though he may be absent in spirit. The correction calls for everyone to return because it blesses and honors everyone, even though they may be disconnected from pure formless awareness. God is not mocked, is not a warning, but a reassurance. God is not mocked, is not a warning, but a reassurance. God would be mocked if any of his creations lacked holiness. Pure formless awareness of perfect love would be mocked if any of its extensions lacked the pure formless awareness. The creation is whole, and the mark of wholeness is holiness. The extension is whole, and the mark of wholeness is pure formless awareness. Miracles are affirmations of sonship, which is a state of completion and abundance. Corrections are affirmations of extension, which is a state of completion and abundance. And from the top, ultimately, every member of the family of perfect love must return. The correction calls everyone to return because it blesses and honors everyone, even though they may be disconnected from pure formless awareness. God is not mocked, is not a warning, but a reassurance. Pure formless awareness of perfect love would be mocked if any of its extensions lacked pure formless awareness. The extension is whole, and the mark of wholeness is pure formless awareness. Corrections are affirmations of extension, which is a state of completion and abundance.
Okay.
It's saying that we all are members of the family of perfect love, and we all must return. And it's just reassuring us that we're all this pure formless awareness of perfect love. I don't know why it's talking about being mocked, because that's because we're lacking pure formless awareness.
Well, the idea that you can have something other than the awareness that you are is a mockery
Oh, right, yeah.
of that awareness. It's like, well, and remember, mockery is like a false imitation. So the world is just a mockery of true reality. Makes a mockery of pure formless awareness of perfect love, and substitutes something else in its place, and says this is now your reality. Well, that mocks God, mocks that pure formless awareness of perfect love, because it's not true. It's a false reality designed to cover over the truth. So, but he's saying it's not really possible. You can't not be what you are. If you are pure formless awareness of perfect love, it doesn't matter what you think you are. You're mistaken. You are still that. Corrections are affirmations of extension, which is a state of completion and abundance. So when I correct, I affirm that I am extended by this awareness, that I am this awareness, and that's complete. It's abundance because there's nothing needed. If I am just this pure formless awareness of perfect love, there's nothing I require. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is fundamentally the difference between this kind of a teaching. There's two kinds of teachings in the world. The one teaching says you're not okay as you are. You're not quite good enough. There's, some trouble, problem. dysfunction, but you can grow. That's why seductive. That's what the whole personal growth industry is based on. You can grow, you can learn, you can become better, and off you go, and you'll become better if you put effort into it. But what you're really saying is that I'm not okay as I am. The whole construct is predicated on I'm not okay as I am, so I've got to grow into something more. Do you see the problem? Because whenever you say I want to grow and I want to improve myself, you're really saying I'm not okay as I am. So I'm actually reinforcing the idea that I'm separate, and it's endless. Of growth, it becomes a very dysfunctional society. People are not happy. We continuously are striving and striving, but never actually achieving, and never finding peace, because we're always looking for more, always striving for more. So there's always this, so what do you call it, craving, this continuous desire for more. As opposed to the other teaching, which says you are already whole, complete, and perfect as you are, because that's your true nature. So you don't have to become that and try and achieve that and grow to that. You just have to let go of the belief that you're not that. So you always have been and always will be. They just need to accept it. And that's where this teaching and any other authentic spiritual teaching is coming from. Does that make sense? So those are the two, alternate philosophies, and you must choose between them because they won't reconcile. You're either whole, complete, and perfect, and you just need to accept it, or you're not, you're dysfunctional, and therefore you've got to try and grow and become something more. But when does that ever end? When do you achieve it? The answer is never. Is that clear? Those two different philosophies and the profound difference between them. Look at our society based on the Declaration of Independence is predicated on not on happiness, but on the pursuit of happiness. Thomas Jefferson, who wrote it, said, "This is life. We hold these rights to be inalienable. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not happiness, but the pursuit of it." And look at the society that has come about as a result of the pursuit of happiness. The US in particular, pursuing happiness, seeking, striving, all this activity to try and find happiness, and most people are not happy. Like most people are very unhappy, because it's defined as the pursuit of, but not the attainment of. So imagine you could go back in time and get Thomas Jefferson to change that word. Not the pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, and happiness. Just forget the pursuit. Might have changed everything. All right. So any thoughts or comments on that? Happy to go on to number 5.
Yep.
Okay. Whatever is true is eternal and cannot change or be changed. Whatever is true is eternal and cannot be changed or be changed. Spirit is therefore unalterable because it is already perfect.
Remember to read. I don't remember to read the alternative down below.
Yeah, I did. It was just
Oh,
the
sorry,
same.
I didn't hear
So yeah, I did. It just did it twice. Spirit is therefore unalterable
that.
because it
Okay,
is
sorry, I didn't hear
already
that.
perfect.
But,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
sometimes it cuts in
Carry
and
on.
out, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Spirit is therefore unalterable because it is already perfect, but the mind can elect what it chooses to serve. Pure formless awareness is therefore unchangeable because it is already perfect, but the mind can elect what it chooses to serve. The only limit put on its choices is that it cannot serve two masters. The only limit placed on its choice is that it cannot serve two masters. If it elects to do so, the mind can become the medium by which the spirit creates along the line of its own creation. If it chooses to do so, the mind can become the medium by which pure formless awareness extends in alignment with its own extension. If it does not freely elect to do so, it retains its creative potential but places itself under tyrannous rather than authoritative control. If it does not freely choose to do so, it retains its potential for experiencing pure formless awareness of perfect love, but places itself under tyrannous control rather than the control of true authority. As a result, it imprisons, because such are the dictates of tyrants. As a result, it imprisons, because such are the dictates of tyrants. To change your mind means to place it at the disposal of true authority. To change my mind means to allow it to be guided by true authority. Whatever
And
is
from
true is eternal and cannot change or be changed. Pure formless awareness is therefore unchangeable because it is already perfect, but my mind can elect to choose what it chooses to serve. The only limit placed on its choice is that it cannot serve two masters. If it chooses to do so, my mind can become the medium by which pure formless awareness extends in alignment with its own extension. If it does not freely choose to do so, it retains its potential for experiencing pure formless awareness of perfect love, but places itself under tyrannous control rather than the control of true authority. As a result, it imprisons because such are the dictates of tyrants. To change my mind means to allow it to be guided by true authority. So I think this is what this is saying, is that the pure formless awareness is there, but I can either choose to connect with it, or I can choose to limit myself to the egoic world. But that pure formless awareness is still there, that potential is still there. And if I do choose that egoic view, rather than the view of the pure formless awareness, I'm under the control of the egoic world, which is rather, I don't know,
tyrannous.
tyrannous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to
Yeah.
think of another word, but yeah.
Yeah. It's a tyrant. It's
Yeah.
a dictator. You know, we got many of them in Africa. It's just
Uh,
like think Donald Trump, you know, just like
exactly.
control, domination, and there's no real freedom. It's just like, no, you will, you know, you will do this because I say so. Even though it doesn't make sense. And that's what a tyranny is. So rather than the control of true authority, which always makes sense and is kind and gentle and loving in its you know, true authority guides. It doesn't force.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, well, maybe that's something you want to consider, but ultimately it's up to you. You know, there's no forcing.
Yeah, it makes me think of the
That's the difference between
addictions.
our spirit controlling and spirit just is quite gentle. I'm saying, well, you know, that's could be this, I'm giving you some guidance. This, I'm not forcing you to follow it, but this is going to help you. So listen to the soft, gentle whisper that's saying to you, there's a better way here. Listen. Ego's like, you got to do this, and you got to do this, and it's lots of strong emotion and fear, and whenever that's present, then that's not true authority.
Yeah.
True authority is kind and gentle, but it's not weak. It can be very persistent. That voice it won't go away. It's just like persistently going, no, when you're out of alignment, it'll just keep at it. But it's never condemning. It's never harsh and condemnatory. It's more like just, there's another way here. Just listen to my guidance and I'll help you. Whereas the ego is always condemnatory and judgmental and makes you seemingly sinful and evil and guilty, and you've screwed up and you've messed up and now you're going to pay the price. Very harsh by comparison. And so this is how you start to discern the difference between these thought systems. The one is a tyrant and a dictator. Think Hitler, Mussolini, various other, just horrible. Or gentle, kind, wise guidance coming from spirit, and that demonstrated by spiritual masters like Yeshua, the Buddha. They weren't forcing anyone to do anything. They just suggested and they guided. And people followed them because what they said made sense, and they were attracted by their loving kindness and their positive energy rather than by control. I mean, Yeshua is a good example with his disciples. There was no force or control. They followed him because they felt inspired to follow him. He didn't say, "You follow me or else." They followed him because like, wow, this guy's like just incredible. He's amazing. What he's saying and what he's doing. Yeah, just what else are we going to do with our lives? Let's follow because we're inspired to learn and to be part of this. There's no tyrannous control. Oh, you have to follow me or else. Clearly wouldn't have worked, obviously. It was voluntary, but that tyrannous versus authoritative control, that plays out all the time. Elaine's gone. Okay.
Yeah.
So we see that in the world all the
Yeah.
time, that happening. So you got to choose which authority you're gonna listen to. I mean, the COVID thing was just crazy. You saw that, really a lot of false authority going on. No, you will do this, you won't do this, you all under house arrest. It's like this is not true authority. True authority says, well, we can suggest, but in the end, you're all adults, you need to choose.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to you, what you want to do. Not we're going to force and control and manipulate and so on. It doesn't work. That's the thing. False authority never works. It's like, so it didn't work. And then they're like, okay, well, it doesn't work, so we'll just stop it all. It all just disappears. You're like, what was that all about then, really? Just a venture into madness, really. To just, I guess, demonstrate the insanity of the ego's thought system again. Okay, so happy with number 5?
Yep.
So number 6, last paragraph, and then we'll look at the summary.
Okay. A miracle is a sign that the mind has chosen to be led by me in Christ's service. The correction is a sign that the mind has chosen to be led by Yeshua in our true self's service. The abundance of Christ is the natural result of choosing to follow him. The abundance of my true self is the natural result of choosing to follow it. All shallow roots must be uprooted because they are not deep enough to sustain you. I must uproot all shallow roots because they are not deep enough to sustain me. The illusion that shallow roots can be deepened and thus made to hold is one of the distortions on which the reverse of the golden rule rests. The illusion that shallow roots can be deepened and so made to hold is one of the distortions upon which the reverse of the golden rule rests. As these false underpinnings are given up, the equilibrium is temporarily experienced as unstable. As these false underpinnings are given up, I may temporarily experience the equilibrium as unstable. However, nothing is less stable than an upside-down orientation. However, nothing is less stable than an upside-down orientation. Nor can anything that holds it upside down be conducive to increased stability. Nor can anything that holds it upside down be conducive to increased stability.
Okay. I'll read it.
Okay, and in the alternate, the correction is a sign that the mind has chosen to be led by Yeshua in our true self-service. The abundance of my true self is the natural result of choosing to follow it. I must uproot all shallow roots because they are not deep enough to sustain me. The illusion that shallow roots can be deepened and so made to hold is one of the distortions upon which the reverse of the golden rule rests. As these false underpinnings are given up, I may temporarily experience my equilibrium as unstable. However, nothing is less stable than an upside-down orientation, nor can anything that holds it upside down be conducive to increased stability.
Just make it. So part of the translation is we try and, instead of the passive, we make it active, you know?
Yeah.
He does
As I give
passive
up.
a lot. As I give up these false underpinnings, and we personalize it, so we put it in I language rather than general third person, because it makes it so much more applicable to your life. So active tense, you know, and I means like, okay, this isn't theory, it's this. As I give up these false underpinnings, I may temporarily experience my equilibrium is unstable, and then it becomes much more applicable to people's lives. So that's why we do the translations the way we do. And it does. I mean, you can now read the pretty much the entire text of the course, and it becomes an affirmation. What you're really saying is you're affirming the truth of who you are in the first person language. Rather than third person theoretical, okay, this is stuff I'm trying to understand. It's like actually becomes affirmative when you read it. So are you finding that that helpful?
Yes, definitely.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why we go to the trouble of translating it.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
Word. But it's designed to make it a lot more understandable. So what's he saying in this last paragraph?
So when I experience a correction, I'm being led by Yeshua, which is our true self, that pure formless awareness. And the experience of the true formless awareness is I can experience it when I choose to follow it. But I have these connections and attachments that are like of the world, and these special attachments perhaps, and they're not deep enough to sustain me. I maybe feel that they can be deep enough, and that takes away from things. If I give them up, that's going to be, I'm going to feel unstable and out of place and what's going on. But in reality, that's upside down. It's not really the real reality. Yeah.
Nothing's less stable than upside down orientation. Okay, anything that holds it upside down be conducive. So the ego is saying, well, just maintain the status quo, stay there because this is stable. But he's saying it's not stable. You know, think the
It's all
world's
upside down.
stable. Look at the world. Is the ego's world stable at all? Can you rely on it? Does anything? I mean, it's changing every minute.
Yeah.
Changing all the time. COVID again was a good example. It was like, what, we thought it was all kind of under control and stable. Then that happens, you're like, how unstable. Suddenly, the entire world's in lockdown and massive economic distress. And where did that come from? Completely left field. No one anticipated that 6 months before. So clearly unstable. So don't pretend that it's stable and try and make it stay in it, because it's just not. It's in naming it for what it is. And with the shallow roots, I'll give an example of those kind of shallow roots. So I had an experience with a lady I rented a room from a year ago, and she was a traditional fundamentalist Christian, went to church, played Christian music all the time. But she had a shallow understanding of it. So her understanding was, well, I love God, and you are not of, because you're not like me, you're not of God.
Mm.
And so therefore it's okay to treat me however. She didn't treat me particularly well. She picked on she picked on the wrong guy, because I was like, okay, but hang on. That's, I understand Christian teaching on quite a deep level because I've studied it, and from a different perspective. The shallowness of the thought system was, well, I love God, and but I don't love you. She failed to go deeper and extend. In fact, in the Bible, Yeshua has two rules. He doesn't just say love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. That's number one. He says you must love your neighbor as yourself. Number two, the reason why he puts number two in, because it would be very easy to go, well, I love God, and that's all very theoretical and abstract. But that allows me to not love my brothers because they're not of God, and this is the oldest trick in the book. You're not from God, so it's okay. I can treat you badly or actually kill you because you're not of God, and so it's justified. But the second one means like, no, you can't get away with that, because God is in everyone. Love your neighbor as yourself means, okay, you can't love God being pure formless awareness of perfect love. You can't have that experience of pure formless awareness of perfect love unless you also see that everyone is that. Because if you hate your brother, you're not in pure formless awareness of perfect love. It's so obvious, isn't it? How can you experience that awareness if there's hatred and anger and fear in your mind? And so that's a shallow root. It's like that root, that shallow root can be deepened is an illusion. You can't. You actually have to undo it philosophically. She would have had to accept that actually she's wrong, and that the whatever teaching that she's followed is incorrect, and start to become much more authentic in her understanding of Christianity. That actually everyone is included. You can't say I love God and then hate someone. That's not possible. So that's a good example of how, then the reverse of the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, then you don't. Then you treat people unkindly and without respect, and with all the shenanigans of the ego, because you've just denied the truth. And then apparently the reverse of the golden rule is justified in your mind. Whereas this teaching, you can't get away with it. It's like, it's if you're studying this, it's like, this is not going to fly, because it's so explicit. He's telling you over and over. It's not just about in this instance, God. It's about your brothers. He relates the teaching always so often, as you see, we go on in this course to how you relate to others. So it becomes very practical. It's like, okay, it's not just some theoretical God in the sky, and I love God, but I can treat my brothers however. It's like, no, you will learn this course by the way that you treat your companions. And so that becomes very, very practical in terms of your relationships in this world. Those are where the rubber meets the road. That's where the transformation needs to happen. Which then leads to this much more kindness, much more love in the world, which is the point of all these teachings. That actually do love can create a much more loving, kind relationships and world as a result. Okay, so what I've done is created a summary. So just a summary of it. So kind of just summarize it, beds it down, and a key message, which is even shorter. So all designed to just help you, really learn each section, get the most out of it. So it's like a study course. So if you read the summary, just paragraph by paragraph, then just pause each paragraph, summarize in your own words, and then continue.
Okay. I can wait to awaken or reduce my awareness of truth to almost nothing, but I cannot destroy it, so my potential for awakening will always be there. My decision is to awaken, and so not to delay in time any longer than is necessary, but to make corrections as they are required. So I can choose to wait before I undertake this course, so to speak. And perhaps I can, put it off as long as possible, but that potential to do it will always be there.
That's why it's a required course. I think you asked the required course because the potential will always be there. And at some point you will be impelled to do it because you cannot deny the truth forever.
Yeah. So then my decision is to awaken. Don't muck about. Let's get down to it.
Exactly. I like that. It's like, okay, let's do it then, because delaying my awakening is just going to prolong my pain. So let's get on with it then, and let's do it. That's why this course exists.
Yeah.
So, okay, if we want to get on with it and do it, then here we are, and we do it daily and start really getting to grips with the ego. It's not easy, but rather that than the slow burn of suffering that most people go through, just a river of misery running through their lives with no apparent hope for getting out of it, because in the ego there's no hope. They'll just carry on suffering and then aging comes and they just get older and more cynical, and eventually they go down to death. And then you go, what was the point? If they didn't learn anything, what was the point of that? So futile existence. So while we have youth and life and energy, it's like, do the work now, before you get to. I see my father's a good example. He's now got quite serious dementia, but he's denied spirit his entire life, and now it's too late. There's no way he's gonna transform now. So you have to come back and have another lifetime. But while you have the ability to do this, then dedicate yourself to it. Apply your mind, give this your whole heart, soul, and mind, and really give it your all, so that when you get older, you're not in this old age and the ego don't go well together to do that. It's not pretty, and you see what happens. So do the work, and that doesn't have to happen. I think my take on dementia is that it's just the ego has hijacked the mind, and the person didn't have the resistance to it. They weren't conscious enough, weren't doing spiritual practices to stop that. And so the more you do that, these entrenched patterns of thought and behavior over decades just eventually become so contracted and limiting, that then they just stuck in it, and it becomes, what we call condition of dementia. But it's actually a spiritual closing down and shutting yourself away from your spirit and your source, systematically and progressively over a lifetime, and then dementia is the result. And it's no accident that our society, which does that, encourages that dementia has become an epidemic, that so many people get it, because we live in a spiritually disconnected society. And so over time, that's what it leads to. It's a sickness of the mind. All right, so carry on. Read paragraph 2 of this.
Everyone has the total love of our source and all its gifts, so I am special, but no more special than anyone else. Miracles or corrections are affirmations of this perfect love, which is a state of completion and abundance to which I and everyone else must ultimately return. If I do not freely choose to do so, I will still have the potential for experiencing pure, formless awareness of perfect love, but I will have placed myself under the tyrannous control of my ego or separate self rather than the control of my true source. So, yeah, I'm special, but I'm special in the same way that everybody is special, because we all have within us this perfect love, which is complete and perfect. And everyone has to get there eventually. I might not choose to do so right now, but if I don't, then I'm going to have to deal with what my ego throws at me, which might not be very pleasant.
Guaranteed it won't be pleasant.
Yeah.
It isn't at all. So, will I suffer or I awaken? It's the choice. So best I get on with the awakening process.
Yeah.
When you realize the inevitability of this, there's actually is no choice, really. There's no choice. It's like to choose to follow this tyrannous control and suffer is just insane. No one in their right mind would choose that. So then, there's only one sane choice, which is awakening from that. Okay, last paragraph, summary, and then just key message.
I will experience the abundance of my true self when I choose to follow it. But as I do this, I must uproot the thought system of my ego or separate self, and will temporarily experience the equilibrium of my life being disturbed as a result. However, I know that nothing is less stable than an upside down orientation, and that nothing holds it upside down can be conducive to my increased stability. So, when I make that decision to follow my true self, I'm going to experience all the abundance. But I have to cut ties with the ego, and that's going to be discombobulating. But nothing is less stable than being upside down, and that's where the ego keeps you, and it's not conducive to ultimate, like, true stability and true peace.
Here we go. Have a look at the hero's journey, which I think we have. And I go through this in the introduction, but let's go through it again. Kind of makes it quite clear. So the ego is telling you that you don't want to leave the normal world. So it's safe, the status quo is okay, even though it's not really. It's like it tells you no, but I mean, on the level of form is okay. Don't rock the boat, don't move. So just stay stuck, stay in your status quo state. And the call to adventure, which you're feeling, just don't honor that. No, just suppress that. Refuse the call. It's common stage. The hero refuses the call, but something greater impels you to eventually honor the call and cross the threshold, and then expect things to change. This is going to be discombobulating. The equilibrium has to change. That's the whole point of the adventure. wouldn't be adventure if everything, stayed in the same state, would it?
Yeah.
And so then everything turns upside down, and various challenges and difficulties and trials happen because that's what's needed to awaken. You need those trials. You need to experience all of that in order to ultimately die to the ego and be reborn to the spirit. And it may all seem to be going wrong, but actually it's going right, because all of that difficulty and discombobulation is what you need. These are the lessons that you need to awaken.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's, the hero says, okay, bring it on. If this is how it works, I'm not going to shy away from difficulty. I'm going to go straight into the difficulty. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to welcome it, because this is how I'm going to awaken, and trust that I have a power within me that can help me to overcome any of this, which is the spirit. And if you do trust it, then you do get the help and the guidance, no doubt. Helpers come along, mentors, guides, all kinds of things start happening to show you that actually, yes, what you perceive is correct. There is help and guidance. There is this other power that transcends the ego, and the more you ask for its guidance and help, the more that it's there to help. And so experientially, you learn that there is another power. That's the whole point of the journey, because you have to learn this experientially. It's not some theory. It's like, no, I know this in my own experience. I've had, so many times you go, how am I going to do this? Seriously, I haven't ever had a job, ever in my time. I had one part-time job when I was 25. I was playing professional squash, but it was part-time. So I've never had a fixed income. Well, how do you do that? Well, it's faith. You learn to trust.
Yeah.
Okay, there's always a way. You find a way, and so you learn experientially that you're not alone. That there's always a way. That miracles can and do happen, and that no matter how difficult your tests are, there's always a way through. And then you really start to learn this course experientially rather than just theoretically. This is not a theoretical journey that you go through. You can look at the theory and you can go, oh, very interesting. I understand the hero's journey, but you don't really understand it if you've been through it and you've actually lived it. That's when you learn it. So that's what this course is about. So helping you to actually take on the journey, have the courage to say, okay, I'm up for it. Call to adventure. I'm up for it. I want to do this. Then you invite the adventure, and then you invite the growth back into really growth. The growth is just letting go of your ego and becoming more of what you truly are. But it looks like growth in this world because something's changing. Actually, just becoming more authentically you. Okay, so then just the key message, which is just an overall summary of it. So if you read this, it's like, okay, that's the key message. That's what the key takeaway. You're an educator. So, okay, that's the key takeaway from this, and kind of, if I can embed that in my mind, then I've learned something valuable.
Mm-hmm. I recognize my eternal potential for awakening to the truth and decide not to delay this awakening, committing to necessary corrections. Though I am special, I am no more so than anyone else, and my journey involves affirming the perfect love we all share. Choosing to follow my true self over my ego may temporarily disturb my equilibrium, but I understand that true stability cannot be found in a perspective that is upside down.
So it's really just saying, go for it. If you want to put this into, staying in the ego isn't going to work. So don't even think that that's a strategy that's going to work. Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Go on the hero's journey and embrace whatever a disturbance of the equilibrium happens, because that's what you need to experience. But this is why it's difficult. If it was all plain sailing, everyone would do it. But it's because the equilibrium does get disturbed, and because things do get testing and challenging, that the majority of people go, no, rather just stay in the status quo. Rather, see the Poseidon Adventure, Gene Hackman, the old version of it. So there was a scene that really struck me. They were the ship. The story was the ship's upside down, and so people in this big ballroom. There's hundreds of people, and Gene Hackman saying, "You got to follow me. The ship's going down. It's all upside down. You're at the bottom, and the water's going to come soon. Come." And everyone's like, no, 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 we're fine. We'll just wait here because it's going to be okay. Someone will come and rescue us. And he's pleading with them. And then eventually he's like, okay, I've got to go. And then as he goes, the water starts coming, and then everyone's panicking, and they're trying to climb up, and it's too late, because like they had their chance and they didn't take it, because that's the classic kind of status quo mindset. Well, we'll be all right, someone will come and save us, and we don't have to move. We don't have to go on the adventure. And they all, stayed there, and they drowned instead. The ones who went on the adventure were like the heroes of this world. He said, okay, we've got to save ourselves. We've got to go on this adventure. We've got to find our way out. And that's going to be an adventure and a challenge, but rather that than just stay here and wait to die.
Yeah.
So very profound, some of these movies, these great spiritual lessons. And actually in the course, we will study the Matrix, and ongoing after the 6-week course, if you stay on the program, every week I recommend a movie, because there's some movie watching, there's great lessons to be learned from these movies. So you can learn these principles by having some fun. Watch a movie, it's entertaining, but there's I've picked the movies that have a deeper meaning, which are the good ones. Okay, so any thoughts, comments, or questions on that particular section? In your own words, what's the key takeaway? What did you learn?
The key takeaway is that I need to get started on this. I can delay, but the pure formless awareness is there. That true self is there, just waiting for me. And so I'd better get moving. And everybody has this. So, yeah.
Everyone has that choice. And,
yeah.
If not now, then when? It's really the question. I've had many people say, come on the course. No, not ready. I'll do it another year.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if not now, and they never come back. I know they're not going to do it. It's like, well, you had the opportunity. It's not. So it's when you feel the call and are willing to listen to it, and that time is now for you.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm feeling really fortunate because I don't know, my husband left me, and I was like, oh well. So anyway, that's how I ended up finding this course, and because he left me, I have the time and the space to process a lot of this, where I don't think I would have if he was still around. So it was actually a gift.
A blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. Any trauma is actually a call to awaken to who you really are. You can see it as that. It's not easy when it's happening to see that, but from this perspective, you can always see it. Actually, it's a blessing in disguise. Actually, it's designed for my awakening, which is the whole point of my life, to wake up to who I really am. There's no higher calling than to know myself. And so that's what's happened. We sometimes need a push, that To look at
Yeah.
the hero's journey thing again. We need to be pushed out of our comfort zone to make us
Yeah,
grow.
I don't think I would have done it had I not been
No,
pushed. No.
because why would you? You know,
Yeah.
you kind of comfortably, you're okay. You might not be ecstatically happy, but it's okay. Life's all right. You know, you've
Yeah.
got your husband and you're going along and it's all seemingly, and it needs a crisis
Mm-hmm.
to push you into the adventure often. You know, if
Yeah.
you're a movie fan again, Star Wars, you remember the first Star Wars movie, Luke Skywalker, hero. So he doesn't want to go. Obi-Wan
Mm-hmm.
Kenobi comes, says, you got to come, you got to be a Jedi. He's like, no, no, you know, I need to stay here because I've got this, you know, kind of home here, and I've got to be there for my adopted parents, and then he goes back and they've been killed, and
Mm-hmm.
it's all burned down. There's nothing for him. He has to move. He has to go on the adventure. There's nothing, you know, left for him. And so, you know, the crisis was designed to move him into his destiny, which was to become a Jedi. But he needed that, you know, the stormtroopers to come and burn it down and kill his parents to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so that's always the case, whatever the drama and the crisis is. Divorce and financial worries and death and sickness, it's designed all to awaken you to who you really are. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
If you can see that, then it makes sense. Then something like, okay, so I understand what life's really about, and let's get on with it. You know, let me start learning these lessons rather than avoiding them, because avoidance just creates pain. If you don't go on the call to adventure, then you're stuck in the status quo. And what do you have? You have the ego's world, and you have its interpretation, and it's not a happy one. How do you get out of that then? Well, the only way is to go on the adventure, and the real adventure is changing your mind. You
Mm-hmm.
don't go anywhere. You're not moving physically. You're just changing your perception of everything. That's the true adventure. Adventure into yourself and into your mind, which is the ultimate one. And yeah, the time is obviously now for you.
Yep.
And how you found me, like where did you come from? I didn't do any mind. You just like, and I get hundreds of false signups. You
Yeah.
know, it's like people sign, like, you know, bots or whatever sign up. So like often I
Oh yeah.
meet them. I nearly deleted you. I was like, no, no, hang on. This actually looks like you put your number. This looks like it might actually be a genuine person. Then, you know, and then here we are. So
Yeah.
you got to look at that and go, okay, you know, there's grace there.
Yeah.
This is meant to be.
Yeah.
And that, you know, is hugely encouraging, because it's like, well, there is a power that has guided all of this, and will continue to do so if I trust it,
Mm-hmm.
to the ultimate fulfillment of the awakening to who I am. You know, you go through this whole cycle and you wake up to who you are, and you're, wow, that was, you know, it was step by step through
Yeah.
all these changes and difficulties and whatever. The death and the rebirth, that's seriously not pleasant, but gotta go through it. But it's worth it, because you know, you actually discover who you are, and that's all it's about.
Yeah.
All right, so if you like, given I mean you're still early in the day, I'm happy to do I was going to do the two-step letting go meditation earlier,
Sure.
but I thought given I'd just done a meditation, I would leave it till the end, so we can do that to close the session if you like.
Sounds good.
Okay. So, yeah, so just making yourself comfortable. Sitting in your favorite meditation posture. Each shoulder width apart, your back straight, cup your hands in your lap, and close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose to initiate the meditation. And notice how the stomach rises, the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clench your sphincter muscle, lock the energy in. Feel this warm wave of energy rising up the spine to your heart center. Draw it up into the crown of your head. Just bring to mind the thoughts and emotions about the situation and the person or people involved that may be disturbing your peace. Really minor negativity and minor irritation or a little anxiety. Be fully present and aware of these thoughts and emotions. Remain somewhat detached. Don't let yourself react emotionally to them. Just observe. Breathe in again. Stop yourself up. Just an observing. You can see yourself as separate from the thoughts and emotions that you're observing in the mind of this person that you thought was you. What is it? It's just a thought, just an emotion, just an energy. Is that really you? Or is it just an illusion of you? This is the beginning of the full realization that you'll one day have that you're not really this person at all. You can also raise your eyes. So breathe deeply again through your nose. Open your eyes, just raise them to the ceiling. Notice as you look upwards while keeping your chin parallel to the ground, that your mind clears. And in this state, there's no thought. So it'll help you just to go into this kind of blank, empty state. You're not involving yourself emotionally in any of these thoughts. And spend more minutes on this. Breathe in again. So you don't want to dwell too much on this. Just observe these thoughts. And if there's something that's not feeling good, unpleasant, difficult to escape, then step 2 is to decide to let go of pain and suffering in whatever form they may show up. So you need to make a conscious decision now. You do not want this painful negative feeling inside of you to disturb your inner peace and cloud the awareness of your true happy self ever again. So you're willing to let it go. You exhale. Just have a sense of blowing it out. Letting go of all the effort it takes to hold on to the thoughts and the emotion. It's going, gone. You just blow it out, the breeze of your breath. Just exhale it out. Dark energy is leaving you. And the light is substituted. So breathe in deeply again through your nose. Imagine that light is flowing into you. You visualize light. It can be a golden or white light. Maybe it's just a sense of awareness. You don't visualize light more, just a higher awareness, deeper awareness. And decide that void, the darkness, limited awareness, we call it. So you allow this light, the higher awareness, to come in and dissipate it. Going into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind. Every fiber of your being is in this light. It's flowing into every pore, every cell, every muscle, your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. Just allow yourself to surrender into the light. Just reveling in the peaceful sense of relief and freedom. You'll feel as you release the toxic thoughts and emotions. Breathe out again. Imagine. So feel this sense of release and freedom. You release the toxic thoughts and emotions that may have tormented and enslaved you for a long time. And just rest. Surrender to this state. So there's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Just breathe. So observe the breath flowing into your nostrils and out of your nostrils. Just sinking inwards, observe the breath, and with each breath go deeper into this light. Your light that's beyond all pain. Just experience it, give yourself the gift, surrendering to and experiencing this pure light. Any thoughts come up that seemingly disturb this deep peace? Observe any thoughts, emotions, related body sensations. And if it's all negative, just remind yourself that you don't have to accept this. You can choose to let it go. Blow out any negativity like a dark cloud or black smoke out of your mouth. So exhale, just blow out any of that darkness like a dark cloud or black smoke. Your mouth leaving you. Just surrender into the light. Light of true awareness, pure formless awareness, perfect love. So anchor the state in, feel the light, some feeling, not just a visual image, you can visualize light as well. It's a feeling of awareness, just infusing every pore, every cell, muscle of your body. So you're going to anchor the state in, set the intention to stay here for the rest of the day and on into your weekend. So it's said, so it is done. Now on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, subtle. And flow there in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale. Once again, scan your mind. Noticing thoughts, emotions, tensions, acting. So just notice now, as you come back, notice any sensations. So you're feeling your hands touching, subtle taste in your mouth, smell in your nose, perhaps. And notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment, but without any attachment, just pure witnessing, no attachment. And just anchor this very vigilant state in. So with the intention to stay here, you're going to stay in this connected, aware state for the rest of the evening, afternoon, evening, and on into the weekend. So it is said, so it is done. And now on the count of 3, open your eyes. So just take a minute to look around. Just picking any object that happens to be in the vicinity, look at it for a few seconds, notice it. Notice how peaceful you feel. You can close your eyes briefly, notice. And open your eyes again, notice that select, put something else, another object. Doesn't really matter what it is, don't make any attempt to select to avoid anything. And just notice that it's the same underlying piece. And so you're training your mind that actually everything's really the same. You're not making artificial distinctions. Underlying any separation is just peace, which is what I wish for you. So thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Jono.
That's how it is. And stay in that state for the rest of the day and the weekend. So there's no session tomorrow. The next live session will be Sunday morning, your time.
Very good.
So you've got a weekend to catch up and just use the time to catch up on anything you missed out on, review, read, reflect, and do I've asked you to do exercise 1 as well if you haven't done that yet. So
Okay. Yeah.
exercise 1 on page 45. If you can do that. haven't left much space to draw, so you're most welcome to draw your own, draw on a blank sheet of paper, or you could even draw on cardboard or whatever. It's up to you.
Okay.
So do that before the session on Sunday morning,
Okay.
and we'll discuss it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Have a good weekend. Stay
You
in
too.
flow.
You
All
too.
right. Namaste.
Namaste.
Okay, so that's a wrap for today. Thank you to Lane and Karen for joining. Good session, and if you enjoyed it, then why not take the next step on your hero's journey and join us for the next masterclass on this Sunday. So there's a link below. Go to AOLG.com. You can find out more and register there. You're also welcome to join my Telegram list. Send out material to you every day. So you can go to lifebull.com to do that. Again, the URL's below. Just click that link. And finally, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then why not do that? So you'll be notified whenever I go live, which is 6 days a week, and whenever I upload any other videos, which will be happening more this year. So hit the subscribe button and yeah, join us. Join us for the next masterclass as well. Go to the AOLG.com, THEAOLG.com to do that. Thanks for listening or watching, and namaste, which means the true self, peaceful, happy true self in me, acknowledges and honors that same peaceful, happy self in you.